Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake Tier List Season. Myself, Davis Wimbledon, and Jilly Goggles as we go through the top second baseman today. There was a nice moment before this where we were discussing which should we do. First base got thrown out. Jolly got scared. He's a little intimidated by the first baseman.
Liar.
So we landed on second base, and I got scared because I did my top 10 list last year, and second base was my most crucified list that I'm scared to dip my toe back in, but I'm excited to do it with you guys.
That's sweet.
How about that? How you doing, y'all?
I'm good. Feeling good. Had a nice busy Tuesday. Just shot a video with Joe's, which is fun. And Jake, this is a different ball game. This is not a top 10 list. It's a tier list.
Yeah.
Which means that if we need to, we can put guys in the same tier. And that's a big time case at second base because I feel like a lot of these guys are really, really good. Maybe not elite, but you can throw them all in one category and say, that's a nice crop.
There's a lot of action for the top, and I think we can check off the top. Unlike we have with other lists, and last time we even left it blank because we were getting ready for Evan Carter to do his thing in left field. The 6 categories we currently have lined up. Shop John Boy Media, shop.johnboymedia. The 6 categories we have lined up. Shop.johnboymedia. Top 1 is can he play baseball? Odd one for an S-tier list, but if you know, you already know, so we'll get there in a second. Secondly, we have could win MVP, which you don't expect that for a second tier, but some of these second basemen, my goodness. The third category is 4 WAR easy. If you're familiar with the second base position, if you can hit a little bit and field a little bit and you're out there every day, you can get 4 WAR. And so that column, I think, might get full. And then, Jolly, I'll give you the honors because this was a little bit of you and a little bit of every baseball nerds categories.
Some guys can hit. Some guys can field. Not everyone can do both. For our hitting second baseman, we have Dan Uggla as a tier. Dan Uggla, you're not upset with him in your field. I mean, that guy could hit. He played second base, maybe not well, but he was an all-star. That's one of our tiers. The other tier, Darwin Barney.
Yeah.
The guys that can pick it haven't quite developed the stick yet. Darwin Barney was a nice player. He was good. Could really pick it in the field. He's our fielding specialty there.
Darwin Barney. That is maybe one of the last. What do you 20th century second baseman?
Jake, he led the league in D-WAR in 2012. There was no better defensive second baseman or defensive fielder.
And we support that.
We support it.
We're happy. We're happy for him. And then the final category, again, this is a show we support and love the players, that the final tier is never going to be like, this guy. The final tier has become a Dan or Darwin. Thought about making some Darwinism jokes.
Ooh.
Evolve, become. A lot of young guys and, I don't know, some other guys that.
Pick a lane, Pop.
Pick P-A-L-P. Palp. Going back to our list, or starting our list, and there was some off-mic arguments about this, and Jolly, I will let you argue it. I am going to put Mookie Betts in the can he play baseball
Yeah.
S-tier part of the list. If you have the audio clip, BBD, it is one of the best audio clips ever made. I know you're doing double time over there, but it's one of the few things that gets me out of bed in the morning is hearing A-Rod make up a conversation he had with Big Papi years ago about a young Mookie Betts. And I think this is open to debate, and, you know, we normally jump around here a little bit, but maybe we...
His name is Mookie Betts. I said, Papi, can he play baseball? He said, man, can he play baseball?
Still not really sure what that is. But thank you, Rod. And maybe this kicks off. Well, how about there's one guy. Because there's going to be a couple people that end up on that second row that are very good ball players. Mookie Betts, I have in a very rare air. He was the best kind of defensive right fielder in the game that is now casually playing second base, which that in and of itself is something. And I think year in, year out, who Mookie Betts is and where he would be ranked on the top 5 to 10 players in baseball list, I think the other people trying to make that argument can't make it as strong. But there is one person that I do think full-blown deserves to be mentioned with him, but I don't think he's on the same tier.
Yeah, you mentioned a pre-show argument. I was fighting for recent World Series champion Marcus Semien.
Fight for it. Win me over.
Couple top 3 MVP finishes in the past few years. Even that quote-unquote down 2022, he's still a 5.8 WAR player, which is not exactly good. It's on the elite level.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien has become a plus defensively in addition to the stick that he can swing. But the thing is, we added a tier above could win a league MVP for the guy that has already done it. Mookie Betts has already been an MVP. He was runner-up last year. He came close on getting his second one there. He is a league above. There's some air of mystery, not really, with him playing second base full-time for the first time, because we've already seen him do it last year, and he did it incredibly well because he's a freak of nature who also can bowl really well, too, and it bears mentioning. So Mookie Betts, I think he does have that head and shoulders above kind of tier to him, and it is always nice when we can put somebody at a definitive number one and say, this is the guy that runs the table at this position. But Marcus Semien is not incredibly far behind, in my opinion, and I still think he has some great years ahead of him on a stacked Texas Rangers team.
Simeon's just kind of wild because he's almost reverse aging. Like, he has the breakout season in 2019 with Oakland.
It's crazy.
Which that looked like the outlier. The shortened 2020 season where he has to hit free agency after 53 not great games. And then he totally redeems himself with Toronto. Signs the big boy contract with Texas. Last year, like you're saying, the WAR ended up there. He plays great defense. He got his counting stats. I mean, 26 homers, 25 stolen bases.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that stat line in 2022, 248, 304, 733.
Yeah.
I think Texas fans were a little, at age 31 season, a little, hey, how are ya?
First year of the deal.
Leads the league in hits and runs last year. 29 homers, 100 RBI, 14 steals, 826 OPS, third in the MVP. All of that being said, where Mookie Betts' numbers ended up last year, 39 homers, 307, 408, a 987 OPS. At a certain point in baseball, and if I have any Little League listeners listening, hitting matters more. I'm sorry, Darwin Barney. If you hit, we will find a spot for you. There's only, I would say there's 2 players in baseball every year that can hit and are struggling to find playing time. They'll find a place for you if you can hit. I promise you that. It's not always that way with fielding.
Right.
And Mookie Betts, career 900 OPS, 294 batting average. He usurped both those numbers last year. So, again, father time. Both these guys are just punching in the mouth. And Mookie Betts has a chance to be like inner circle Hall of Fame, where Marcus Semien, I was a little surprised. I mean, 40-something career WAR for Marcus. If he puts up a couple like last year, and you compare second baseman to second baseman, he feels like the next interesting Hall of Fame convo guy.
He feels kind of like he could do the Beltre thing, where he was good those first 10 years, and then he was great the last 10, which I'm excited for as well. But it's Mookie. It's Mookie.
It's Mookie. The only thing I'd fight you on Beltre, I mean, God, he racked up a lot.
Yeah.
Like, could Marcus Semien be a Longoria type conversation? Kind of, But I don't know. In a way, he's peaking. So, Marcus Semien, prove us wrong. But that was the original conversation, and I think at the top of the second base list, there's a little 1A, 1... I won't say 1B, because I think Mookie's 1.
It's 1 and 2.
If all of these players were presented in front of you, and you had to pick one guy for your season, I think it's Mookie Betts.
But Jake,
I think it's Mookie Betts.
I think there's a 2A, 2B if we want to continue progressing.
There is. Let's go down the list until we stop and we completely audible, because that's the perk of the tier list. Introduce them.
So was Simeon in the same tier?
I have
I had
Simeon
him
a tier
not.
below.
Yeah,
Just
tier
double
below.
I have Simeon a tier below.
And I have
1A, 1B talk got me nervous that I was wrong.
I got nervous. But now this 2B makes things very interesting as well.
You got to respect resumes. You got to respect.
Mentioned Hall of Fame.
Talking about Cooperstown bound players. It's the guy that just signed a new deal, is going to retire with his team, probably become the greatest player ever in that franchise's history. And it's Jose Altuve. I mean, he only played 90 games last season. Age 33 season, going to be 34 this year. But at the same, he still had a 915 OPS, and he's still Jose Altuve in the field. Still stealing bags. Like, he's still that guy. So if you get a full, even 140 games out of Jose Altuve, it's a shoo-in to be a top 3 second baseman in the league, top 2 even. I think Semion's edge over him right now, for me personally, is being out there every day. Semien played all 162 last year. You can't tell me that doesn't mean anything, especially when that team goes on to win the World Series. The other thing is, like, loaded Houston lineup. You can argue that for Semien as well, but I think age plays a factor. But they're both here and could win a league MVP, especially because, with no more Ohtani in the American League, I know you got Judge there,
open.
you got Soto there. Obviously, they're going to be in play, but like, it becomes kind of fun again. It becomes open. Like, oh, I wonder who's going to win MVP this year. And it wouldn't shock me if, one, either of these guys placed highly, or two, either of them just went off completely and won an MVP award. I know Altuve's done it before. 2017, it was a while ago at this point. But he's still that caliber of player, in my opinion.
In 2022, he finished 5th in MVP voting. In the past 2 seasons, because he did get hurt last year, he got involved in the season late. So his last 2 seasons, 231 games, pretty good sample. 304, 390, a 529 slug.
Jeez.
A 157 OPS. Like, there's, and Jal, I'm not, because I agree with you on everything Simeon. Someone could present a Jose Altuve over Simeon argument that outside of health can be tough to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What a freak. He would be the smallest person in the room right now.
Yeah. It's nuts. Nuts. I mean, it's insane that we get to watch these two play each other for like the next, 6 or 7 years at this point.
A little Texas rivalry.
It's fun.
That Jose Altuve is on that line with Simeon. Again, the second line is could win MVP, and those two could win MVP, which is just pure insanity. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else.
I think a line in the sand gets drawn there.
You think so?
It's tough because you have a bunch of guys in 4-WAR Easy that I think are really interesting, and the upside is completely there in a lot of different ways for all of them.
Right.
But if we're talking complete packages, and I know you know a lot about that, it's those 3 guys: Betts, Semien, Altuve. 1, 2, 3.
I think you're right.
Did I say something?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Thanks. It's nice to hear.
God, looking at a lot of pretty faces that play a lot of good baseball, and a lot of tiers that I think could frustrate people, because I think a lot of teams very much like their second baseman.
Yeah.
Let's take a time from the top of the list.
Fill in some bottoms.
Yeah, that final column, as you mentioned, the bottom 3 columns, which that's a rude way to phrase it, because Dan Uggla had some massive seasons. Darwin Barney, your hero apparently.
Love him. Gold
Glove winner. And then we had the Become Dan or Darwin. Let's check off a couple names. Okay. Let's get a couple of the kids out of the way. I think I'm seeing our friend and brewer that visited the office. Is that Bryce Turang?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think picks it like the Dickens. his stolen base numbers impressed me. I saw them briefly, but
Really?
I think he was taking the bags when he got on base. Unfortunately, I don't think he was getting on a base
Yeah.
a lot next year. So hey, hopefully, if those offensive numbers tick up, Bryce Turang, he's the kind of guy that if he develops a little bit of an offensive profile, he can be a 4-WAR easy.
I mean,
He's got to take an obvious step.
Yeah,
But he
absolutely.
can run. He can play defense. So if he can find his offensive lane, whether that's maybe a low batting average with a little bit of pop, or leaning into the speed thing, getting on base a little more and swiping 30, 40 bags.
I got something for that, actually.
Sure.
Speed's there. He's like 98th percentile sprint speed. Had the swipes when he got on base. Can pick it a little bit at second base, too. He's 23. A guy who I think he could be in 3 years is 26 right now, and that's Nico Horner. Nico Horner was right around league average OPS plus, swiped a lot. He swiped 43 bags last year because he was getting on base more, and is obviously great defensively. So there is a lane for Bryce Turang, who was a highly regarded prospect, a high draft pick, to become someone like that. And I think that's perfectly within reason. It's just, he was a rookie last year. We haven't really seen the complete package for him yet, but this is a former first-round pick. Like, that's, I think, what the Brewers are expecting of him. He has the chance to become Dan or Darwin, or potentially one of the 4-WAR guys if things click.
Be careful with your Nico Horner talk. That's one of the guys that a fan
Saying
base
could
gets
be.
jazzy about.
I have a lot of respect for Nico Horner.
Because
He has some variance on this list for looking at Nico's page a little.
Nico Horner.
But do
My
you see what I'm
goodness.
saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And Nico Horner, his first 68 games of his career, he had a 72 OPS plus.
Yeah.
The light bulb goes on at age 24, and the Cubs love him as their second baseman, and he won the Gold Glove last year. They
He's
love
awesome.
their middle infield. The Cubs like what they have going on there. 43 stolen bases from Nico Horner last year.
People don't talk about him.
I think we're about to. Let's get in some more.
So where'd Bryce Turang end up?
He's in the bottom row there. Become
yes.
Dan or Darwin. I mean, what he did offensively last year, unfortunately, you can't currently give him the benefit of the doubt, because, 218, 285 on base, 62 OPS plus. We need a little more to chew on than that. We need a little bit more to chew on than that. Also on the bottom row, I think Colt Keith, no offense, Colt Keith, but we need to see anything.
You got to
I know
become
you.
something.
I know he hit a lot at AAA last year, and they're excited about him, which is why he got the bag early. But yeah, we got to see it. That's all.
For the same reason as Westberg there.
I think
Yes.
so.
We just haven't seen.
Yes.
We don't know who you are yet.
Yeah.
Need more of it. I know they love you. A lot of these guys have had success at AAA. That's how you get to the show.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, Orioles fans, you'll be instantly mad because you're about to tell us that Jordan Westberg's the next one of your guys.
Might be.
Wouldn't be surprised if he is.
You over Pagero?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not familiar with his game, so
Yover, I didn't know. I said Tucapita's name. Yeah. Yover, I would love to become familiar with you.
I have one that might take a little bit of thinking, but I think it's become Dan or Darwin. We've seen 64 games of him. He's around league average hitting wise. A little bit of a minus defensively right now. Didn't win the shortstop job. Vaughn Grissom, who's gonna get a decent chunk of playing time in Boston. He is their second baseman. So I think we could see something this year, but I think right now he's become Dan or Darwin.
we want to see him become it.
It's fair. He's only played 64 games. He technically has a 287, 339, 746 career
You can chew
OPS
on
in
it.
those games.
Yeah.
He's very young. And I guess we like players a lot, and it's where I tell the people I won't be rude to the individual. And it's baseball. One thing clicks in your swing, and
Right.
Bryce Turang's an all-star. Came in, kind of good-looking guy, tattoos. Vaughn Grissom, I have a lot of confidence next year he would be Dan Uggla. But he needs to show that. He's never played a full season of games. He's getting his opportunity. He's oddly young. I expect him to see him climb the list. And I wouldn't be shocked, man, if he could become a 4-WAR easy guy. Because I think he can hit, that if he can play a lick of defense at second base, which Braves fans said he can, I think you'll see him up here, but he needs to prove that. Let's see. Who else? Who is it? Luis Garcia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just he's young.
He's played a lot. He's 23.
Yeah.
He's played 4 years.
He's getting reps.
It's nuts.
I kind of
Figure it out by free agency, kid.
curious where you guys land on Brendan Rodgers. Looking at his page, I've seen some interesting offensive years, a mixed bag year to year, defensive WAR wise, which makes me lean he's become Tanner Darwin.
I think I'm in that boat as well with him.
Like let's do it.
I guess here's my question.
Sure.
We have 317 games from Brendan Rodgers.
Right.
He's got a little bit of an injury history. I was wondering when you were going to come get your jacket.
And he has
We
speed.
tried to give it to Joe's, and he wouldn't take it.
He looked
Wouldn't
really
take
sad
it out of the
about
room
too.
to you. when
Jimmy
we asked him
O'Brien
to.
looking handsome. He'll
Oh.
be back.
He's back.
Brendan Rodgers
Yeah.
I opened
won the Gold Glove last year.
People forget.
Or 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
that was not in my brain.
2022.
That's crazy. Well, that's a good point. Is he Darwin?
Career 89 OPS plus.
If we're gonna have this Darwin Barney category, we have to put
Someone
people there.
has to go in it.
I'm down. Let's put him there.
So you're putting Brendan Rodgers and Darwin?
He won a Gold Glove. Hi, Jimmy.
Oh, he has a gold glove?
He
He won
has
a Gold Glove.
Oh, so he's in. He's
This is
in.
from Jimmy.
Nicky Lopez I have as Darwin Barney.
Is that a bribe? Was that a bribe?
Oh wow! So I get $2 when I get to $1 million, or $10 when I get to $1 million.
Never been a math company. Congrats.
Thanks.
And goodbye to Jimmy. Nicky Lopez is on here.
He
He's-
goes there
he's a
for
Darwin
me.
Barney.
Yeah, I think he's a Darwin.
He's the
Barney.
White Sox second baseman right now.
He did. He hit a little bit when he went over to Atlanta because I think there's just something in the water that when you go
He
when you
caught
go there,
fire for a few weeks.
when you're surrounded by great talent, you just hit a little bit more, but it's still below league average. And
I can't bank on him being a Dan Ugla.
he's a guy I did a video about before, so I'm pretty familiar with Nicky Lopez.
I just can't find his picture, so I'm moving on.
He's in a Braves
uniform.
hat.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
And
This
there's
is
a few Braves in there.
that's crazy.
he was above league average for 150 games in 2021. Played stellar defense. Maybe you can still be that guy. He's Darwin Barney though. Right now,
When you put Nicky Lopez in your lineup,
he's 9.
you're expecting
8 or 9.
his page looks a lot like Darwin Barney's page.
Right, he's Darwin Barney.
He's Darwin Barney.
So far, you're Darwin, Pop.
Okay. Let's see. Who else? I want to see if there's any easy ones, and I'm not sure there are. Renhifo's a confusing one. Zach
Yeah.
Geloff is a confusing one.
Ooh, Geloff, I think needs
Ad-
to be higher.
Adam Frazier's an old become Dan or Darwin.
Yeah, I like
is
him on the
he?
list. I mean, he's just Adam
the
Frazier.
the defense doesn't grade out
Does
well. at
Adam
this
Frazier
point.
get his own tier?
I mean, he's kind of just Adam
He's Adam Frazier. He's not Dan or Darwin.
Look, I'm not going
He's
to fight
Adam
you if you want to
Frazier.
make an Adam Frazier tier.
Let's make an Adam Frazier.
I kind of
tier.
like an Adam Frazier tier.
Well
and
above
I'd
Dan or
like
Darwin.
Above?
I think it's above. Because at least he is what he
You're just-
is.
Yeah.
I know what I'm getting from Adam Frazier.
I have it below Darwin
Yes.
and above become Dan or Darwin.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what I said.
Cool. My bad.
Yeah.
So it's just tough to
With
listen
having-
to sometimes.
Having two names make up three categories, it gets a little tricky.
Sure.
But that's where Adam Frazier is. We love Adam Frazier, obviously.
We do.
I might just say both.
And we'll talk about him getting to the Royals next episode,
Soon.
but
when it
think,
comes up.
I think Renhefo goes in Dan or Darwin too. He's been hitting a little bit though.
I don't know, he might be Adam Frazier.
Renhifo's one of the trickiest ones on the list. And that's
We might
why
have to circle back.
Sometimes I say stuff like that, and I remember how beautiful it is to be a sports loser. Because, in truth, what are we doing?
What are we talking about?
Switch hitter Luis Renhefo. He's now part. God, this is going to be his 6th MLB season. He's turning 27 in 6 days.
Good for him.
So get your happy birthday Luis Renhefo tweets out. He has shown sign of progress. In 2022, he had a 102 OPS plus. In 2023, a 111 OPS plus, where he had 16 homers, and he went nuts in the second half. I believe he got benched.
Right.
And then he kind of went off. His second half splits from last year, 318, 374, a 960 OPS.
Jeez,
in 50
960?
games.
Whoa.
He's a lefty mauler, 928 OPS versus lefties, and he was 727 versus righties.
Jake, I have good news.
Okay.
He's 3rd percentile in outs above average.
So we have Dan Ugla hopes for Luis Rengifo.
I think you could convince me to put him there.
The company he keeps is going to be tough for Luis Rengifo.
I think the more we fill that in, the more he ends up in Adam Frazier.
I think if you just take those last 2 years, though, you know? I don't know.
He is one of the more interesting personalities on this.
Okay.
I'm going to leave him off for now, but there's an
circle
argument
back.
to be made.
Yeah.
Let's go to 4 WAR easy and hop
Yeah.
back up. Let's get
Yeah.
in a little more rhythm. And again, for second base, like I laid out earlier, if you're picking it, that's going to be about 2 WAR. And if you have an offensive skill over 150 games, that'll be about 2 WAR. That you can become a 4 WAR second baseman. I don't want to say easily because that's downplaying it a lot. But there's a good group of ball players.
You could regularly see yourself there.
Like a guy that I can almost guarantee you, almost no matter what happens this year, will get 4 WAR is Andres Jimenez.
Yep. Absolutely.
I couldn't believe, even with the offensive season he had, which ended up right around league average. I think he had a nicer second half. Cleared 4 WAR by a lot.
5.3.
5.3, 15 homers, 30 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Back-to-back Gold Gloves, has a Platty as well that, yeah, if he taps into his 2022 where he had a 141 OPS plus, that's
The glove
pretty
is
wild.
special, and he hits at least a bit.
Former
maybe
Met.
A lot.
Former Met, who we really, basically the only good part of 2020 for the New York Mets. A lot of bad things that year, a lot of bad pitching. Andres Jimenez was an absolute delight to watch. It was tough to let him go. I mean, obviously, you take Francisco Lindor in that trade. He was tough to let go. So I'm really happy Cleveland fans are giving him a lot of love because he deserves it. He's a great player. Jake, for this tier, I did a little stat head
Okay.
butter knife to try and ease
Right.
things on us a little bit.
At least get a starting point.
I can rattle some of those names if that's something you want.
I
want
wanna
to
do-
vocalize Ozzy Albies first, but
I want to do one more thing with Andres Jimenez.
Okay.
One, forgot he got an extension. 7 years, 106.
It's a good
in
one.
Cleveland.
Okay.
They like him.
Okay. Buckle up. He's going to start making $23 million a year in 2027.
Deserves it, but I forgot about that.
But I was just going to say this next year for me is super interesting for him because to make that kind of money, you do have to be a slightly better hitter.
Yeah.
And I think he has that. Like his career numbers are now a 110 OPS plus, and if he can do that with his fielding. But interesting year. A lot of things didn't go right in Cleveland last year.
Like,
Yeah.
if he repeated last year, Cleveland fans are telling themselves, wow, the first 2 years of this deal haven't gone according to plan.
You're getting a little slightly nervous about the contract.
And
Like, it's not like an all-time bad situation, but it's not fun.
his
years
September
in.
really picked up his numbers too. He was below 730 OPS in every month and then 859 in September. So hopefully that's a sign of things that he figured out at the end of the season.
Age 25 season, I think
Yeah.
there's more, like, I think if there's a player that could jump into the could win MVP, sneaky Andres Jimenez, if he goes back to his 2022, I think he has more hope than some of, well, I shouldn't say some of these other guys.
Okay.
BBD, you threw the Ozzy Albies out there. When I mentioned second baseman and getting chewed up for how you rank them, Ozzy Albies was one of the guys for me that Braves fans, and rightfully so, will go to war for Ozzy Albies.
Yep.
Because he is a switch-hitting second baseman. 849 OPS last year. again, kids, the hitting matters. 33 home runs. He was hurt in 22 and 21. He also had 30 home runs. There was a world in baseball history where that didn't exist from a second baseman. And Ozzie Albies doing that as a switch hitter. You see this guy a lot, Jal.
I mean, he's an absolute nightmare, Jake. I mean, I wouldn't wish him upon anybody. He is one of the most pure hitters I've been able to watch in the NL East. He led all switch hitters in home runs last year as a second baseman, mind you. And yeah, I'm willing to fully admit that I was on the underrating, or I guess people are overrating Ozzie Albies train before last season, and then he put up those numbers and rightfully shut me up because he is incredibly good. He is a 4-WAR easy player because he's not a negative defensively at all, and he hits maybe better than anybody else in this entire tier. He deserves to be here.
And just your annual reminder, $7 million this year, $7 million next year. Team option for $7 million.
Team option, Jake.
Team option for $7 million in 2027.
There's two?
There's two.
It's a nightmare,
So
Jake.
It's
a nightmare.
I hope Ozzie can be good for 4 more seasons so he can get the bag he deserves to get.
Who's his agent?
And that's a brutal ask.
I hope
he can't.
every car dealership in Atlanta is giving him every.
Go buy your car from Ozzie Albies. 4-WAR easy and Jolliver. You're an NL East man. I think Bryson Stott has a compelling argument.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's a piece for the Phillies. I think him and Ozzie are very interesting because they are caught in lineups where everyone is really good, so maybe they don't get the shine they deserve. And Stott is obviously a defensive whiz, but he also hit like really well last year and has kind of shown up in the playoffs for them as well. He's a really fun player to watch, a former first-round pick. So, like, again, he's part of the plan in this Phillies infield, which BBD loves so dearly. His thing that I think a lot of people didn't notice is that his last month kind of stunk, and it tanked a lot of his stats for the year. At the end of August, he was a 790 OPS guy, which would have put him in much more favorable OPS plus territory. So I think he's a 4-WAR easy guy. He was 4.3 last year. I think he's going to get better this year because we're only really seeing the beginnings of Bryson Stott. And again, just another great second baseman. And there's still one we haven't mentioned in the NL East that I have to watch day in and day out terrorize my Mets.
I know the stolen bases numbers took a jump last year, obviously, new rules. 31 stolen bases from Bryson Stott. 15 homers, 32 doubles, 280. So, yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to be their shortstop of the future. I like the way he played shortstop. They happened to have an owner that said, hey, why don't we sign Trey Turner? Bryson Stott said, that's good by me. That I will be interested, and this isn't to be rude, but baseball happens quick. For any player, it can go up or go down fairly quickly. More guys down, if I'm being honest. There could be a chance we look back at this list next year, and Bryson Stott is almost like, oh my God, we thought pencil him for 4-WAR? Mm-hmm. In theory, he should be. He's a young, good ball player that should be getting better in a good lineup. But I don't know. It's just how baseball works sometimes. I'm not saying it's going to be Bryson, but that's why people do lists every year because it changes quickly. But I don't know. I'll be interesting to see if he lives up to that because he should.
Yeah. It leads to another discussion that I think we'll have later because this tier has the chance to get fat because there's a lot of good second basemen.
Like that.
There's 2 more or 3 more. Math. 3 more that we should highlight.
You go.
That already cleared 4-WAR and then some last year.
Okay.
Fun fact, there's nobody who is above 3 and below 4. So there's a drop-off after these guys.
And that's kind of the point of the category.
Kind of cool.
You're good enough, you're going to get 4.
Nico Horner, Ketel Marte, Luis Arias, all 4.9 or more, and they all kind of did it in different ways, which I love. Luis Arias, batting champ. Nico Horner, maybe the best defensive glove on here. And then Ketel Marte, a little bit of everything. It's great.
It's a unique grouping of players. Arise, who part of the conversation last year was chasing 4 bills batting average wise.
Crazy.
Came down from that. Still put together a very nice season. 393 on base, 354 batting average. The problem for him for a while was finding a position. I think the defense still isn't pretty, but when you can do that,
When you hit like he hits.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Ketel Marte, obviously Jake Snake's chipping in here, switch hitter, had moved around a lot. Center field, shortstop, second base. Kind of locked in now. And I know this postseason, a lot of people got to watch him a lot. I mean, 25 career WAR. Last year's stats, an 844 OPS, 25 home runs. Yeah.
And if we want to do money talk again, that's another contract that
Yeah.
looks awesome for Arizona. Not quite to the degree of Ozzy Albies with the whole $7 million thing, but for a player that was gonna get MVP votes like Ketel Marte, the fact that you're getting him next year for $13 million, I think you're pretty darn happy with that because he does it on all sides of the ball, man. I mean, you have to see it firsthand in the playoffs with that hit streak. It's really nice to see him return to form. Especially after like that 2019 season, you could have written it off a little bit because the numbers they pop there. 329 batting average, 32 bombs, 10 swipes, an OPS near 1,000. But last year he proved that he's this kind of player, which is really exciting for Snakes fans because he is a cog in that machine. He's not the guy, but he's a really good player.
He's a guy.
He's a guy. Corbin Carroll's the guy though.
He is the guy.
He's the guy.
Nico Horner, we've kind of covered.
Yeah,
He was a 5 WAR guy last year. Won the Gold Glove. 40-plus stolen bases. Is getting better. Yeah.
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 We like Nico Horner. I would like him on my team.
I'm going to look at his stats one more time. Do we like that he goes by Nico?
I kind of
Does he have another option?
It says Nicholas.
Is he he's the only Nico in baseball history, huh? You look up Nico, there's no one else there.
Okay, then I love it.
Kind of love it.
You win. Stanford man like Trev. 283, 346. Yeah, not a ton of pop, but 43 stolen bases and a Gold Glove. Do you, Nico Horner? We're all about it.
43, wow.
And yeah, you know about that Arise guy. So,
yeah, I do have one more that I think it's time to bring up because I think he's firmly at least at this level.
Yeah.
yes.
He's new to the position.
Yep.
Yes.
That is news this week as we're recording this. Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah. No argument against it. I'm excited. It was tough.
Should rack up even more defensive WAR there.
It was tough to draw the line in my head where being an obnoxious Yankee fan actually was when Xander was a Red Sox. There was times when his defense was lackluster at shortstop, to say the least, and I couldn't tell how much of that was me being biased or how much of that was what. Xander Bogaerts is going to hit. He's Zoe's favorite player ever. He's had a 120 OPS plus for the last 6 seasons.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have a theory developing. Maybe it'll be a Jolly Olive video one day. When guys move off a shortstop and go to second base, I think it's less wear and tear on the body. I think it's less of a mental exercise that, biasly, we've seen Gleyber Torres do that in recent years. I know Nico Horner came up and was playing a little shortstop. I know a lot of guys move off shortstop, but I think that could only mean good thing for Xander Bogaerts, who he had his career high in stolen bases last year with 19.
Yeah, I was going to mention.
How about that?
One bomb and one swipe from a 2020 season, then you can kind of mark that up and go, ooh, well, that's interesting for Xander. Big thing here, which I'm curious to see how he starts next year. Xander Bogaerts had a torrid month of September where he had an 1,100 OPS, and that really evened things out for him at year's end because it was looking not so good in August.
He was a terrible sandwich with great bread.
Yes, April and September he was hot. His numbers land in a great place, and I think it's kind of like that first-year contract thing that we see with a lot of players. I think he's going to be good next year, and I think second base is only going to help because it's exactly what Jake said. And even regardless of whatever defensive woes you might encounter with him, he's been well over above 4 WAR for each of the past, like Jake said, 5 or 6 full seasons. Can't count 2020, so 5 full seasons.
That 1.6 WAR in 2020, that was on pace for a 4.8.
Exactly.
So
he's
clearing it easily every year, including last year, that was like a weird one
I got
for him
something.
and the Padres.
Hey, let's play a fun game. You guys like games?
I like him.
Currently on the 4 WAR easy list: Andres Jimenez, Ozzy Albies, Bryson Stott, Ketel Marte, Nico Horner, Luis Arias, and Xander Bogaerts.
Good list.
You're the GM of the expansion. What team was building a stadium the other day? Salt Lake?
Portland Pioneers.
I know Passon had an article, I think today, kind of saying Nashville and Salt Lake City
You tell
were
me-
I think
front
it's
runners.
happening. Like, I think the Salt Lake
talked
government...
about it like it will happen.
Salt Lake government was like, this is the plan for our new MLB stadium. And everyone was like, you don't have a team, though. Contracts do not matter. It's
Huge.
1 season. For the 2024 season, if you had to pick one of the 4 WAR easy second baseman, who would you pick?
I think I have my answer actually pretty quick.
Okay.
We talked about how, like, Nico's the defensive whiz, Luis is the pure hitter, Andres, defensive whiz. If I'm going for, like, who's going to be my franchise guy of my expansion team, I have to pick the guy that I think is the most well-rounded, because if he does everything great, that takes him to MVP caliber level. And for me, that is Ketel Marte.
Interesting.
It's kind of between him and Xander for me in terms of like what guy could really be like a guy for a team. We've seen Ketel do it. I know that he's been off and on, but I really do think last year was a sign of who he really is as a ball player. And Xander, I have to see it at second base. I know it's kind of like he's a shortstop. He can play second base, but like I have to see how he makes that adjustment and if he can be consistent offensively compared to last year. Whereas Ketel, he did it on a national stage. Like that kind of, it does it for me. Okay. So I think if I'm picking one from this really, really, really good group of 6, it is Ketel.
BBD?
I could be talked into just about any of these guys. For me, I think I lean Xander. The composition of last year is kind of freaking me out, but in general, every year he really hits. He'll field at least enough for second base to be good. Clears 4 WAR easily. So I think he's my guy. Just I feel more locked into what I'm going to get on the whole from him. But the month by month stats last year are a little freaky. But that's not like typical of him. That's just what last year was.
I'm excited for Social's team to make a graphic because no answer is wrong. My initial heart jumped to Ozzy Albies.
My heart jumped to him first, too.
And problem is loosely used here, but against right-handed pitching, and this has always been the way for him, he was an 803 OPS last year, which, again, is very good for this exercise. He kills lefties, 391, a 1.023 versus lefties. So when you see a lefty, you now have an MVP level player in your lineup, which that's pretty nice.
Sure.
And against righties, you still have a very good level player, but you see a lot more righties. I think I still go Ozzy. He's going to be 27 next year. 33 homers last season.
There's no wrong answer.
There's not, but I don't know. It also doesn't, part of it doesn't feel right.
Jake.
Something about his OPS plus year to year didn't compute in my head when I was looking at him. I was like by OPS plus last year's the clear outlier. I was like, what? Something about him just doesn't feel right when trying to hyperfixate on who he is compared to these guys.
It's a little bit of the injury stuff, I think, too.
Injuries.
Because if he's healthy, he's the best hitter in this crop, I think. But what that exercise or that game, if you will, did for me was it kind of told me that there is a line after these guys. Because
Yes.
I look at the field below them, there's a lot of interesting seasons and a lot of interesting tools for all the guys that we have yet to list, but I don't think they fit into 4 WAR easy. I think there's another tier below it.
No, and I'll start off with a name that probably a lot of people may assume we'd talk about earlier, Gleyber Torres.
Sure.
Seen the life cycle of Gleyber Torres. I think he has 1 or 2 4 WAR seasons.
2019 has to be there.
Right, and no, it's funny. A couple of these guys have very juicy 2019s. Him, Cattell, Xander.
I was wrong. 2019 is not there.
2019's a 3.
He's a shortstop. It makes
2022, believe it or not, he forward.
Right, I was a little surprised. Either way, the point is he's not stumbling into 4 WAR.
Right.
He's got to put together a good offensive season, and he needs to do enough defensively, which he has lapses defensively that have hurt over the years. He's not a great base runner, where a lot of these guys are getting base running points. Almost anyone we've mentioned above Gleyber Torres on this list currently can run outside of Arise, who won the batting title and is
Don't need him to run.
be hitting, and probably Xander Bogaerts, who outran him last year and has been hitting for the past 6 years to a decade. So I think Gleyber Torres is a Dan Uggla. He's out there to hit. He's not really out there for his defense. And I say it in kind of a good way, again, with this Dan Uggla category. Gleyber can really hit. It felt like a light bulb went off last year. He is still very young. I know that used to be the joke, but he's 27 for this whole season. So
Yeah, I like that spiel. I mean, contract year for him, so you could be seeing potentially a really good version of him. I have another name that I think fits here. I don't want to be disingenuous to him because he did win Rookie of the Year not long ago.
I've got him here.
Johnny.
Jonathan India, he hits for sure, and he gets a little bit of the Great American Ballpark factor going there, but at the same time, 8th percentile and outs above average, and for his career he's a 105 OPS plus, and he hits more home runs than I think you'd expect from a second baseman, which is what the Dan Uggla category is. So he is kind of here with Gleyber, in my opinion.
It's a little bit of a pivot year for Jonathan India, and there's been a lot of trade rumors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, coming off that Rookie of the Year, that is his best season. He was hurt in 22, and he missed a chunk of games last year that now we're talking about position battles in Cincinnati. I do think, and this is my Eddie Rosario theory of baseball, where you hit in a lineup matters.
Yeah.
And in 2023, Jonathan India led off a lot. He hit third a lot. Those were his 2 most common locations in the lineup.
Yeah.
So that means something.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Like,
It's what you said before. It's baseball happens fast. Like Jonathan India was in like cornerstone conversations when he won Rookie of the Year for like, okay, we're looking at the future of a Cincinnati team. And then the future kind of happened last year with McLean, with De La Cruz, with Steer. And he kind of became an afterthought a little bit. So I'm curious to see what exactly the plan is with him. But objectively, as it stands right now, he's a bat first second baseman.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think he's penciled to like DH because they're just running out of spots.
Tryouts and first tryouts.
Sounds like Uggla.
I think this is an interesting one that I think falls into it easily is Brandon Lau.
Oh,
Right?
Kind of landed there rather easily for me.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Brandon Lau pops 30 plus next year, no one is surprised. I don't think he's really truly been out there for his defense. They've also moved him around earlier on in his career. Last year, it looks like he only played second base or DH'd. In 109 games last year, he hit 21 homers.
Yeah.
A 113 OPS plus. In 2021, 39.
Jeez. I always forget that he did that.
Career 126 OPS plus.
Yeah, he's weird, man, because if you're an ounce above average person, it's a little inconsistent. It's pretty much bad every year.
A lot of year-to-year variance with him.
Except last year. Last year it's actually pretty good, but he's never been a positive D-WAR guy above like 0.5. So if you want to go by that, I think that works. And he is a home run bat in the middle of the Rays lineup. That's kind of what they like him for. So I don't hate it, honestly. I don't hate him being there.
Yeah.
When is he? Of course.
And if Rays fans want to start yelling at us saying he fields, I'll take both of them on.
Yeah, I mean, honest eye test and Rays, like, let me know. I mean, Brandon Lau's always been fine, but it's also
I've never looked at him and thought bad.
No.
yeah, it's also never felt like a threat of don't hit it that way.
Also won 4 WAR season.
But not a lot of guys can hit 39 home runs, and he's done that. And
Right.
not a juice ball year. I guess 21 they had a little giddy up, but nothing like previous.
Jake,
Okay.
India, Lau, Torres, all won 4 WAR season. They've all put it together for 1 year, but just
They're
not
capable.
consistent enough to be in that upper echelon. So I think they fit here.
I think another guy that can go there, he has some massive seasons, and he's been moved around, and he's always rumored to be traded. Jorge Polanco, man.
Yeah.
Finally happened.
Guys had a lot. Every time I bring up his page, I get a little shocked.
He's another poor percentile ranking ounce above average, but he's just been hitting forever.
OPS pluses from 2018, not including 2020. 110, 121, 125, 115, 115.
I mean, 19 and 21, he's really good for the Twins, but I don't know if he's that guy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the 33 home runs, I value switch hitting.
Yeah, totally. So do the Mariners.
And this guy has hit for his career. Although a lot of contract years, it feels like goes to die in Seattle. So I don't love that for him.
Teoscar.
But my guy has stayed hitting throughout his career.
So if we're all on the
Where
same
again?
page,
Okay.
we have 7 guys left.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8, I think.
I have 8.
You have 8.
We didn't place Rengifo yet.
I have Rengifo placed.
I
That's my
haven't
bad.
placed him. I think I've got one that I'd rather move on quickly because otherwise it could lead to a 10-minute conversation.
Oh, no.
Kevin Biggio is Adam Frazier.
Sure. Gets on base.
He did for the second half of last season.
Kind of love that. it's him and Adam
He's been
Frazier.
tortured a little bit by the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
He's moved around a lot. He's been out of the lineup. I hope it clicked
Which-
for him last year.
Adam Frazier's a little bit same story. He's been forced to just like go play some left field,
Sure.
right field a
Yep.
little bit.
Yep.
I think
Probably
a little
get
third base,
along.
too.
Pre-game when you see guys running to get loose, they'd
Hitting
say
lefty.
hi by second base. What's up, man? How's everything?
I'm
Good?
super cool with that.
Season's getting you? Yeah.
But my problem is that not a lot of the guys we have left fit anywhere.
I think I have one.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
I might have one. Might be the same one.
I think Nolan Gorman is Dan Ugla.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't looked at the defensive numbers, but he hits.
He does hit.
He can.
And-
His numbers for a young second baseman.
Negative D-WAR both years in the show.
But Cards fans are like excited about him.
It's a compliment. I have
I
Gleyber
think it's
Torres
good.
in the same category. Like
That's true. I have to train my brain to say that Dan Ugla is not a bad category.
236, 328, and 805 OPS. That's very nice from a 23-year-old second baseman. I admit that.
Yeah.
But also, what does that turn into?
What
There's
does it
dreams
turn
of
into?
more.
Yeah, because I think you have to think like, what he was 23 last year. I mean, we were just talking about how like Bryce Trang, he's 23. You could figure it out.
Right.
Gorman's already doing this at 23. So what is he in 3 years? You know what I mean?
No. He
That's
takes
what
some
goes
steps
through
at
my
the bat,
brain.
make all the plays you need to at second.
I think he could have.
I think he can get to forward easy, but
He's
isn't
shown
there
me
yet.
no signs he's not going to hit.
Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with it. Not mad.
27 homers in 119 games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hitter.
I saw
That's it.
Trevor Plouffe draft him in a homer draft,
Did he really?
More like Trevor Goof.
and I might have been his teammate.
Okay.
What is Jeff McNeil?
It's tough, dude. I mean, he's one of the guys that I feel like doesn't really fit anywhere. He's not 4-WAR easy, although he's a treat to watch play. In my head, he feels utility. Like I don't even refer to him really as second base because he plays like just as much outfield. Last year he was around league average hitting, even though the year before he's a batting champ, MVP vote, Silver Slugger. And he's had 2 5-WAR seasons, Jake. Like, that's no slouch. Like, that's a guy that's done it. He's not consistent. And Mets fans are very understanding of this at this point, that he's one of these guys that makes me feel like we need another tier. But I don't know what it is and where it goes.
I guess for me,
and who in other tiers now fall into that.
Maybe I'm not interpreting the category exactly the right way, but Jeff McNeil's out there to hit, right?
I don't know if you can comfortably say that.
Okay.
Because I don't think you can make him a Dan Uggla because he is a plus defensively. Like, that's where a lot of his value came.
He hasn't had a negative D-WAR season. No crazy positive ones, but I think that stat struggles with guys that move around.
He's 83rd percentile outs above average last year, 95th the year before, like one of the best fielders in baseball.
Okay.
91st the year before that.
I'm willing to put him on pause for a second.
I think I don't know.
I'm willing to put him on pause.
He might open the floodgates for another tier.
I can't in good conscience argue to put him with those guys in 4-WAR easy right now because he's not there. He's just not.
There's a guy who I am similarly to him struggling to figure out where he is placed, and that's Matt McClain.
Yeah.
Who did not clear 4-WAR, but is a good glove in my head.
He's only going to get better.
He's moving. It seems like not going to play a lot of shortstop. I think he'll still be involved there, but that should be a positive
in
at second.
89 games, he had a 3.7 WAR.
He only played 89 games?
Is he 4-WAR easy?
So he's four.
I think there's a discussion.
I thought he played like well over 100.
It's just a really tough sport. This guy's a first-round pick. All of the Reds hit last year, which makes everyone just feel weird about it, except their top guys, Ellie.
I think we need to bounce back to BBD's idea before the draft. I think it's a solid tier. I know you don't like. I don't
turn the lights off and kiss. You want to do that?
Maybe
that's my usual go-to.
I don't think it's a mean tier.
What's the tier?
The tier that BBD thought of. I don't want to take credit for it. It's 4-WAR, not so easy. These guys can do it, but there's the consistency, or we haven't seen enough of them yet, or there's a missing part of their game. But they're not Dan Uggla or Darwin Barney. They're more well-rounded than that. Thoughts?
I'm in a tough spot.
Jimmy, give me $1.
Zach Geloff.
He was good.
Zach Geloff was really good.
Really good.
Matt McClain was really good.
Like, you can't call them Dan
But
Uggla.
I can't bank on 4-WAR.
You can't bank on it. You don't know. Played 69 games, Zach Geloff. It was really good.
So between 4-WAR easy and Dan Uggla, I
Like
guess
4-WAR not easy.
I guess it's just tough because it could be easy for Matt McClain.
It could be.
I don't know.
I'm not shutting that down by any means.
I can't pencil it in right now.
But, like, it makes placing McNeil, Geloff, and even, like, Bryson Stott a lot easier. Stott's
I'd be
one.
comfortable with him, and I'd be a little more comfortable with him not easy.
Because Stott doesn't feel like he's part of that group either.
He feels like the odd one out in that 4-WAR easy category.
Right. Like if I'm using my own arguments against me, where does Bryson Stott hit in a lot of lineups?
7-8.
I guess it depends on the team. I mean, he's on a very good team.
I see what you're saying. I misunderstood the question.
But no, I guess I'm trying to think. If Bryson's like, I looked at Nico Horner. Nico Horner was at the top of the lineup a lot. I mean, they're kind of similar hitting profiles.
You can even repose your question from before about which one you would pick. I don't think anyone would have said
no one
Bryson
jumped to
Stott
Stott.
there. So that's my rationale there.
Fangraphs has him penciled in at 6. I think that's some breaking up righty stuff with the Phillies, but
Yeah. It's good.
Another
He's a good
name,
player. I like
another
him.
name we haven't really mentioned, who is young and very good, is Eddie Julian.
he's Dan Ugla for me right now.
381 on base.
And he hit last
He
year.
really hit, but the fielding is bad. Until they moved off Polanco, they were gonna just put him at first and park it. But
I'm just worried if I guess let's create this new category. We can make it for war
difficult.
difficile.
Creative.
Because if Eddie Julian can't play defense, he has to be a really good offensive player
He might be Dan Ugla
to be for war.
because he wasn't close to 4 WAR last year. And he had more games than McLean and Geloff.
The problem is, dude, this guy might be able to really 381 on base.
Yeah, that's something.
Like this guy,
So, okay, let's craft this tier.
he has a chance to be like special.
Because I think everyone we just talked about or referenced, like, goes here. Stott, McNeil, Geloff, McLean, Julian, and I think you can argue for McLean, but the games is tough for me, dude. He hasn't played a lot.
It's true.
He hasn't played a lot.
I guess I thought I had a fake epiphany of labeling it something like chance to be special, but
It
again,
changes the definition.
what do
though.
you label a rise?
Right.
Like,
Hey, what about Bullet? I haven't really talked about him.
I love Tyro.
He's awesome.
He almost doesn't have a cut because he's like a 2-WAR easy.
Yeah, I know. He's too.
Like he's gonna do just enough offensively, just enough defensively to be 2-WAR, which again
Not the problem on your team.
we're kind of finding out is among second basemen isn't the most valuable asset.
It's not Dan Ugla, though.
Although I love myself some Tyro Estrada. Let me look at Tyro's numbers one more
Poor
time.
Tyro. I don't know where to put him.
120. He's a plus hitter. He's just like average. 4-WAR not as easy.
His range factor is 100th percentile, so
I think we just put
he might be.
Bullet as a middle tier in all capital letters.
Do we? I kind of want to put Bullet.
Frazier.
That feels disrespectful.
You think so?
I'd be
hits.
interested in the Bullet tier that's between Ugla and Barney, and
Do we put Tyro and Rengifo together?
They're just Bullet.
those two are.
I kind of like
Bullet.
that. Yeah. They go. They're not Adam Frazier. Jake, you're getting exasperated.
That's what I was worried
I
about.
don't-
All right.
Adam Frazier having a friend there in Cavan. I'm comfortable.
That's
with
nice.
Rengifo
That
not
is
being
nice.
there. I'm
I'm-
pushing for him to be involved.
I'm putting names on the board because I need to stop looking at them off the board.
I think we landed in a good place.
I'm putting Julian as 4-WAR not easy for now.
Yeah.
I think there's an Ugla.
I just can't
discussion.
bank on it.
I think there's an Ugla discussion. Jeff McNeil, 4-WAR not as easy. Matt McLean, 4-WAR not as easy, which just feels bizarre because he almost did it easily, but it's hard to believe that's going to happen again. Zach Geloff,
Yeah, dude. He was the only reason besides Brent Rooker to watch the A's. He was good.
He's gonna play.
And he's going to play.
Really hit
he's gonna
positive
play.
defense in 70 games. He got 2.6 WAR in 69 games. Nice.
So, okay, I guess this is where tiers in my head are bumping a little bit.
Okay.
Because the game we played with 4-WAR easy of who would you pick, I think that's a fun, great baseball conversation. I think if you pulled the 30 MLB GMs, I think some Jimenez's would come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think Albies would come back. I think Cattell would come back. I think Arise would
Arise
come back.
definitely would come
I think
back.
Bogarts would come back.
Yeah. Would Nico?
Maybe.
But
I guess
Nico
if you-
gets 4 WAR.
I guess if Jimenez, you'd say they get a couple votes.
Yeah. It's that
Um,
ilk.
For 4-WAR not as easy, which I currently have Eddie Julian, Jeff McNeil, Matt McLean, Zach Geloff.
And Stott I have there too.
You lowered him?
I lowered him because of what we said before.
Okay, I'll do it, but I don't
I
love
lowered
it.
him. I don't feel kind about it. I like him.
I mean,
If he does it one more year, he's for we're easy, I think. But
Like Brandon Lau versus Zach Goloff next year. Brandon Lau versus Jeff McNeil.
I would take Goloff, and I would take Lau.
Jorge Polanco versus Julie. I don't know. It feels like we're giving guys some stripes before they've earned them.
Defense matters.
the Twins literally picked Julian over
Defense
Polanco.
matters. I think that's my
Twins
retort.
literally did pick Julian over Polanco.
It's a good point. Like, I think the only thing I discuss here really is maybe Gorman goes up. That's kind of it. Glaber's proved he's not a glove guy. Lau has proved he's a power bat first. India, who knows? They're thinking about not playing him at second.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of funny. Eddie Julian being on the line above Polanco. Matt McClain being on the line above Jonathan India.
It's who they chose. It kind of is perfect.
And I'm going to rearrange it so they're literally above
Yeah.
him.
You swear on my life that Jeff McNeil is better than Gleyber Torres?
I would take Jeff, but I'm wearing a Mets hat, so like take that with a heavy grain of salt. And the Mets lineup needs home runs, so maybe you argue you need Gleyber, but like I'd take Jeff. I've seen what Jeff can be. Jeff has 2 5-WAR seasons. Gleyber has none.
And then what's going on with Tyro and
I think they're in their own land. I think they're Bullet.
It's below Dan Ugla?
I have Bullet as below Ugla, above Darwin.
I think I'm with you. Because they kind of do both, just not particularly well. They're 2-WAR guys.
What?
Do you not like it?
I mean, I do. It's just
We can call it 2-WAR easy if you want.
I don't hate that. Because Dan Ugla had a couple 4-WAR seasons.
we can do 2-WAR easy.
Okay.
And then does anyone end
You're
up
so
there?
upset.
Oh God, I accidentally clicked the wrong way.
You're so upset.
Okay, so that's
I like 2-WAR easy.
after Dan Ugla.
After Dan Ugla. This is Rengifo and Bullet.
2-WAR easy.
Although, what does Frazier do on a season-to-season basis?
And then does anyone else end up there?
No, Frazier hasn't had 2-WAR since 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those guys can really hit.
Yeah. Maybe put Adam Frazier above Darwin Barney.
Adam Frazier above Darwin. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have those guys.
I think I'd agree with you. And then I think that's it.
Okay. I think it's.
This is the most conflicted I've seen you. Are you getting flashbacks?
This
to
feels
last
better
year?
than left field. Left field
Left field like
ruined
a
me.
disaster.
This feels right. I do feel like the 4-WAR not easy crew is being disrespected.
Really?
Or excuse me, I think
Dan
the
Ugla crew.
Dan Ugla crew is being respected a little bit because it's
They-
almost the devil you don't know.
I was gonna say that exact thing. They're a victim of having more playing time. There's no mystery to those guys, if that makes sense. Like we kind of know who each of them are. Maybe not Gorman, which is why I was okay with potentially moving them up, but that's who they are. They hit, and they hit well.
They're limited by their defense.
Like they could be DHs. You know what I mean?
You
Like
could DH them in a game and you're not mad.
exactly.
That's true.
Like nobody in 4-WAR not so easy. I wouldn't put any of them as DH except for maybe Julien. But if he's playing second
And
base,
he's hits at a little bit above what I've seen those guys hit in recent years.
yeah,
He hit substantially more than that in the 1 year.
Okay.
this was a good one.
I've been convinced. Yeah,
This was fun.
second base, man. This is again, when I was doing them as top 10, there's a lot of guys that have compelling arguments. Brandon Lau goes for 40 homers this year.
We might look foolish.
So,
It's the game.
from the top, can he play baseball? It's Mookie Betts. Could win MVP. Marcus Semien and Jose Altuve. 4-WAR easy. Jimenez, Albies, Marte, Horner, Arise, Xander Bogaerts, new to the second base list. 4-WAR not as easy. Eddie Julien, Jeff McNeil, Matt McClain, Zach Gilauf. And Bryson Stott ended up down there, which it felt like he got forward kind of easy.
4.3.
But it does look balanced out. Dan Uglas, Jorge Polanco, Glaber Torres, Jonathan India, Brandon Lau, Nolan Gorman, man. Those are guys that just aren't going to hurt your team at all. 2 War Easy, Tyrone Rengifo.
Love it.
I almost just want to put... What are the California teams? San Diego doesn't count. I was going to try to put all them on a line. But
that'd
can't
be
do that.
Dragon Galoff.
Adam Frazier is Adam Frazier and Kevin Biggio.
That's awesome.
Darwin Barney. How about this? Brendan Rodgers and Nicky Lopez. Didn't have that.
They can pick it.
And then become Dan or Darwin. Some guys will probably have stronger feelings about next year. Some young bloods on here. Jordan Westberg, Bryce Terang, Colt Keith, Yover Piguero, Vaughn Grisham, and Luis Garcia. Man, that's a young crop. Did Jordan Westberg do anything last year?
He was an 100 OPS plus.
68 games.
68.
Yeah, right? I didn't know. I don't know.
Is he Adam Frazier?
He had 1.2 war in that time. I don't know if that's 2 war easy yet.
Easy. No, I think we'll find out.
We don't know yet.
We'll let them decide. Guys, girls, thank you again. Thank you to Jolly Olive. Second base, that middle tier. That's what's pulling string?
Pulling teeth?
What's the phrase when something's so narrow?
Threading the needle.
Oh. Comment below. What did we get wrong? Who did you get right? Thank you to King Beebs. We'll be back next week.